Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. It's me, Joey P, Joe Pizzapia. That, of course, is Dan Harris and Kyle Yates, and it's you. And today, we've got a very special event here. We've got a mock draft episode for you right here on our YouTube channel at Fantasy Pros, and it's going to be held on Sleeper. Now, the Sleeper app is one of the premier apps to host your fantasy football league. It's not just for mock drafting. It's for real league playing. That's right. It's one of the most user-friendly apps out there. I have a ton of leagues on there. Yates, I know you do as well. I personally love the Sleeper app, especially this time of year when you're doing all the best balls and things like that, because it is very handy. It's very useful. You get all the little notifications. You've got the chat in there. It really does condense everything in a very nice, simple, user-friendly platform. And for me personally, it's kind of fun. Like, it makes fantasy football a little bit more, I don't know, bells and whistles, if you may. How do you feel about the Sleeper app there, Mr. Yates?
Man, I love this platform. There are so many other platforms that are fantastic platforms in their own right, don't get me wrong, but yet they're not exactly the most user-friendly. And Sleeper brings that to the table, where I was given the choice of starting up the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Podcast Invitational League with Trevor Sikkema, with guys like Field Yates, Adam Rank, Mike Golick Jr., and I said, no, we're doing this on Sleeper because this is so user-friendly, so simple to use, and a ton of fun. So I'm excited to get this mock draft rolling, fellas.
I'm going to pick up all the names that Yates just dropped. And speaking of user-friendly, the opposite of that is you, Dan Harris. You're the opposite of user-friendly. And this is the first thing you've ever done on Sleeper. How in God's name have you been around here the last couple of years and not used this app? I don't understand.
It's because I'm a dinosaur. And because, here's the deal, we've talked about this a lot. As we have became fantasy analysts, Joe, you've been doing it for 40 years. Yates, you started last year. I've tried to cut back on my own personal leagues. Like, I really have, just because I care much more about making the right calls. And Sleeper, I've been in, like, the league since I was, like, a baby, right? So we're still using sort of the old platform. So, yes, I set this mock draft up, by the way, and what I love about certain things is how intuitive it is, right? So I'm not kidding. It's the first time I've been on it, not for any fault. I haven't started a new league in like 7 years. It was so intuitive and easy to do that I love it, and I'm a little annoyed with myself for now. So I'm just going to start a new league now, host it on Sleeper. Let's go. Maybe I can get in a Yates Dynasty league with everybody.
You're not invited.
Not invited. No, whatever.
You're not nearly popular enough to be in that league yet. It'd be super cool to get invited to that one. And, Dan Harris used to just, check the box scores from the newspaper. That's how he updates everything on Tuesday morning for his league. That's how things go. But you don't have to live like that. And that's what the Sleeper app is for. So if you haven't already, download the Sleeper app. Again, you might be like Dan, who just says, well, we just kind of stuck and we know what we have and it works. But that doesn't mean that there's not something better out there for you. So just to kick things off here and give you a little idea of what this platform is and how it works, we're going to be running a mock here, show you how easy it is to draft on there, how the rankings, the news, everything there is very easy to see. We're just going to be doing a nice, fun half-PPR, single quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and a flex, of course, and a few bench spots. We're not going to do kicker or defense because nobody cares. We're just not going to do that at all. We also got to pick our spot of where we like to be, and it's fun. We didn't coordinate this. Yates took the 1 spot, which is good because Yates never gets a 1 spot. I've done a ton of mocks with him. Spot. You never get that. Why is that? I don't understand.
I don't know. I wanted it this time, though.
This is good. I'm happy for you. You've got the 1. I went the complete other side. I went to the 12. Dan Harris, of course, falls somewhere in between because he is steady as she goes at number 5.
Yep. I like 5, actually. That's my spot now. When I had more confidence in Saquon, I liked 6. Now I like 5. I feel good about getting there. I like it first. Let's go. And I specifically let you guys choose your spots before I chose mine because
How gracious.
I'm just I'm benevolent. That's what everybody says. But yes, this is exciting. I like the dark mode. I'm ready to go. I'm recording this draft board that you guys are watching, by the way. So my bad. If anything goes wrong, you can just blame it on me.
It's okay. Your side profile is by far the sexiest side of you. So if that's what we see the rest of the show, that's perfectly fine. So let's get going here and kick things off. Yates, you're on the clock for the first pick. I know there's so much to take in here, but I have a pretty good idea which way you're going.
Man, guys, this is going to take me all 2 minutes to go through this. You said a 2-minute clock? Are we taking 2 minutes?
I assume that you will not need your entire 2 minutes.
No, I'm not going to do that. This is
okay.
Christian McCaffrey, man. Someone, a beat reporter came out with a tweet earlier during training camp that said, oh, this Christian McCaffrey guy is pretty good. It's early, but I think he's a lock to make the roster. Yeah, he is. It's Christian McCaffrey. Let's go.
All right, so after that, Henry, Barkley, Cook, Kamara go off the board, and Kamara goes to you, Dan Harris. So you feel good about that pick there?
Yeah, I mean, Saquon went third. Again, this is sort of the artificial drafters that are doing it. I am looking for one of, obviously, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Kamara, or Ezekiel Elliott. I assumed it would be Elliott. It's Kamara. It's a half PPR league. I am more than happy with that, given what's going on, so I am ecstatic.
Very good. Then it goes after that. Nick Chubb, my dude. This person must be using the Joe bot for this draft because obviously after that you get Nick Chubb going, Kelsey, Elliott, Hill, Taylor, and Aaron Jones, which goes to me. So you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my boy Najee Harris because I like to do that. I'm going to take a look and see who else is out there. How about some Devontae Adams action? I'm pretty good with that. So I'm going to start my team there with those two guys. So give me Adams, give me Najee Harris. Liking that. You know what else I like about this too? As you can see here, it pops up with a little player icon too, and it's very reminiscent of the old school pull boards that you use that we're actually going to be using this weekend. It's going to be fun at the draft I'm going to be at, but look at that. You got the little player in there. You feel like you really have them on your team, and it's real. All the way back to you, wide receiver run, Metcalf, Diggs, A.J. Brown go, and Dan Harris, you selected Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I thought about going running back. I could have gone Antonio Gibson or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I am going with Ridley, who I absolutely love this year. As you guys know, if there's one thing everybody knows about the Fantasy Pros crew, it's that Dan Harris is the Ridley guy, and Yates and Tags fade him. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm kidding. But I love Calvin Ridley this year. I'm getting my wide receiver one. There still should be running backs waiting for me as I get back, so kind of an easy choice for me.
Now, although Yates didn't have a lot to give us here in terms of taking Christian McCaffrey first, this is a great conversation piece because Mahomes just went right before you, and a lot of people wonder, is this the time where you take Mahomes and the best tight end? Do you just go BPA? Do you back up McCaffrey with another running back because of the injury last year? So this is actually fun, Yates. I haven't gotten your take on the one spot, and I want to hear it.
Yeah, well, I don't have a take on the one spot yet because I haven't done a freaking mock draft at the one spot.
Well,
so
you better get one.
Learn as you go.
Getting this take as we go. So, yeah, I just went Justin Jefferson here at the turn. I'm not one to take Patrick Mahomes, although I do love Patrick Mahomes, don't get me wrong. I'm not one to take a quarterback this early. And if I don't get Travis Kelce there in the first round, I'm probably just going to wait it out at the tight end position, double down later on. So, Justin Jefferson there at the 212 spot here at the 3-1. I'm looking to see if I can balance out this roster a little bit, but you know what? I'm going to go a little bit further down the board. Let's take 2 top 10 wide receivers, get them on my roster. I'm going Allen Robinson here in Chicago. So Christian McCaffrey, he's essentially 2 running backs in one. Let's go with Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson. Love this start.
Very good. So there you go. So you did end up with analysis after all. George Kittle goes, then Swift, then Keenan Allen. Back to you, Dan Harris. You are up with the 3-5 pick.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a choice for me. I have talked about this a lot, and this is one of the benefits of doing a lot of mock drafts, which is I am starting to really like the way my teams come out when I can begin with a running back, probably a wide receiver in the second, or even 2 running backs, and then get one of the top 3 tight ends, because after that, you're just waiting, right? So if you can start it with one of the top 3 tight ends, you had Kelsey go in the first, you had Kittle go right after Yates' next pick. I'm taking Waller there. I'm starting with Kamara, Ridley, and Waller in a half PPR league. I think you can balance out the running backs later and get more wide receivers. So I went with Waller, and I feel pretty good about it. This is awesome. I do love the pictures of the guys, by the way, in the draft
very
board.
Cool.
It's amazing. It's awesome.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
After that, it's quite an epic run there. Dobbins, Montgomery go, 2 guys I really like, and then McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb go as well. So now I'm a little up against it, a little frustrated there, but that's okay. You got to rebound. You got to be ready. You got to be flexible. Got to be prepared. I definitely want to get another running back here because after this, it's going to get ugly fast. So I will go ahead and take Chris Carson first. And now it's a matter of, do I want to continue on and take the last running back that I kind of like in this grouping, or do I want to hit wide receiver again? And I got to tell you, this wide receiver grouping here, Yates and I talked about this group earlier today on a show, and it was the Mike Evans, Chris Godwin kind of group, and you're kind of just not really sure how you feel. I like Robert Woods, but I don't know if he's going to move the needle for me as much as the other running back that I like here, and that is going to be Travis Etienne. So I'm going to go ahead, take care of my RBs now, and pretty much just draft wide receiver the rest of the draft. That's going to be what it looks like. After that, Jacobs, Henderson, Julio Jones, then we get a little quarterback action, Lamar and Kyler Murray off the board right before Dan Harris. So if you wanted one of those top guys, there's one more QB on the board. But Dan Harris, what do you want?
I'm very sad right now. There's been a big running back run here. And now I'm kind of caught where I would like a running back for sure. Yates obviously only has one. He's probably going to get another one. The running back group isn't that great. I'm looking at who is still available. We know who I like. We know who my guy is.
Your guy's sitting there at the top of the board.
And I'm just going to do it. Why not? I'm going to go with my guy, Myles Gaskin, a guy who I will probably have 100% shares of this year. I really do like him. And again, no running backs. I thought maybe Team 2 would take a running back right there because he only had one, but he didn't. Obviously, Yates is going to hit the position at least once, maybe twice. Yates?
I don't know. All I know is you passed on Josh Allen for Myles Gaskin. And I don't know if I ever want to do another show with you after that. Mark Andrews goes next after that. Amari Cooper, then Mike Davis to you, Kyle, NFL. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good value, I'd say, right there. You got to be happy. If that's your RB2 and you double-tapped wide receiver on 2-3, I think you feel pretty good about how things ended up with you.
Yeah, we talked about a philosophy on our recent Fantasy Pros football podcast, talking about if you do draft Mike Davis, I think he's going to get off to a hot start to begin the year. You might want to double down and grab a running back later on that will hopefully get on my next turn. We'll talk about him then. But I have added a wide receiver here to my queue with that little purple icon there. Add him to the queue so I keep them all straight. Going Robert Woods here, guys. Robert Woods,
I knew you
wide
would.
receiver out of the Los Angeles Rams, man. Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, and Robert Woods is my wide receiver core. Whew, look out.
I almost took Robert Woods where I was, down below, but I went, you know what? If I don't take Travis Etienne now, I know he ain't coming back to me, and running back gets scary very quickly. So Woods, Moore, Thielen, Godwin, another little run here. It's back to you. You got a running back, Dan. You got a wide receiver, a tight end, another running back. The world is your oyster, so what are you going to crack open this pick?
Well, what we're going to very clearly figure out is that I read the room wrong here. There was only one running back taken after me, and it was by Yates. I certainly thought that Team 2 would want to grab another running back, but that was a mistake. Nobody else did either, so now I'm kind of caught in between the running back that's aside. I could go with a wide receiver, which is probably what I would do, or I may just throw a curveball, and you know what? I'm going to make a pick that hopefully would make Joey P proud. I'm going to go with Dak. I know he's battling a little bit of an injury, but I think he's fine. But really, in retrospect, I should have gone with Josh Allen. I probably could have got Gaskin here on the way back, so that's a bad job by me, but I'm happy to take Dak as a consolation prize.
I think you played it right. I think we're friends again, number one, because you took Dak there. Number two, I think you got to go get your guy there because running back could be very scary, and you can't take that risk. You know, you just don't know how that's going to end up going. Who knows? Maybe if you pass on Gaskin, somebody would have taken him instead. So I think getting your guy, make sure you get that running back, especially when you had Prescott in your back pocket. You also had Russell Wilson there as well. After that, you got Deontay Johnson, Kenny Golladay, Kareem Hunt, Kyle Pitts, who I had all lined up to take. I was going to get my second Kyle Pitts fake share in a mock. Got one yesterday. I was really excited by it. It was in a super flex too. So now I got to figure things out here. I'm going to go look for some upside talent here. How about a little Jamar Chase action off the board to pair with Devontae Adams? I like that. Joey likey how that looks right now. Joey want wide receivers. That's what he wants. And I'm going to go ahead and take my quarterback here and take a little Russell Wilson as well, because I think that's the last guy that's kind of right before where I feel really good and safe and warm and fuzzy at the quarterback position. After that, Lockett, Kupp, Robinson, Beckham, T. Higgins go off the board. That puts you up next, Dan Harris, at 6'8", which is also your height.
That's true.
Enough.
That's accurate. It was when I was 13 before I really hit my growth spurt. So for me, if you guys are watching, by the way, I assume you're watching on YouTube, obviously, you can see the way it works. So I keep the list of players down below. As soon as I want, I just hit the little arrow, it pops up for who I want to take, just so you can tell. And I am going to take a receiver here, and I'm going to take Brandon Ayuk, who I just like as a nice safety blanket. Another guy who I was thinking of taking, there goes a couple. I was thinking of Claypool maybe. I'm not quite as high on Claypool this year as I think Yates is from where we've talked about. So I do like Ayuk a little higher. So I'm going to go with him as my wide receiver too. Again, it's a little weird because I have Darren Waller. When you have that tight end, you kind of forget that it's basically like having a wide receiver too. But Ayuk is my wide receiver too. I feel comfortable with that.
Well, look, Waller is definitely a needle mover, so you should be very pleased with having him on your roster. I still have him as my second tight end on the board personally. Mm-hmm. He went third here. So after that, like you said, Claypool went, and then back to running back, it looks like, for Kyle, taking Javonte Williams.
Yep. Yeah, I was shocked that Williams was still here. I thought for sure that he was going off the board earlier than this, but he was still there for me, and this was not the running back that I was alluding to earlier, talking about stacking him with Mike Davis, but Javonte Williams, I expect to at least get a little bit of a slower start and then start to take over this backfield here in Denver as the season goes along. Melvin Gordon, not completely going away, but I do think that he's going to take over the majority of the work sooner rather than later. Now I'm looking at potentially quarterback here, guys, and I'm looking at a guy who is coming off of, 48 passing touchdowns last year, 4 or 5 interceptions, can't remember off the top of my head. I don't care. I'm drafting Aaron Rodgers here at the 7-1 to be my quarterback. Oh, I'm feeling good about this team.
Never heard of him. All right, back to you, Dan Harris. Next guy up on this. You are in the 7th round, so let's go to your pick next.
I will say that I think that I like Yates' style of basically taking his second running back as a guy who's going to dominate early and the third running back as the guy who's probably going to dominate late. I would have personally taken Melvin Gordon, and I am considering whether or not I'm going to do that, and I am going to do that right here, actually. I like Melvin Gordon. I think, again, we talked about it. I think it's very difficult to supplant, however good Javonte Williams is, it's going to be very difficult to supplant a guy like Melvin Gordon, who, for all our faults, if he avoids suspension, given the whole, DUI thing that came, I think he's just going to be very difficult to supplant as the lead guy in that backfield. So I'm very comfortable getting him as my RB3. I'm getting a lot of shares of him, too. I'm a little higher than our consensus on him. So for me, Melvin Gordon as my flex right now, I feel very comfortable with.
I feel like you're just opening a spite store, though, against Yates. I think that's also part of it, right?
Accurate. It's a perpetual spite store.
Welcome to my daily life. Welcome to my
life. All right, let's go next to me. David Johnson, everyone's favorite, goes right before me along with Curtis Samuel. I still could use some wide receiver help. I like this team quite a bit. So I'm going to go with Smith here. Devontae Smith from the Philadelphia Eagles is my third guy. I'm going to back that up right away. Got some options here. Jalen Waddle's on the board. Chenault's on the board. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think I feel good in the half PPR with Mike Williams. He brings that touchdown upside, which I like. I like the touchdown upside. To me, that's the difference maker between the half and the full PPR formats. After that, we have a little run of running backs right before Dan Harris. So Fournette and Trey Sermon go off the board. You are up next here with the 8-8 pick.
You mentioned his name. I was hoping that he would get there. When he got there, I'm all in apparently on the Dolphins right now. It is Jalen Waddle. Yes, every Dolphin.
Waddle and Carter just went off the board.
Every Dolphin is just rising up my board as the closer we get to the season. I'm just like, you know what I really like? Those Dolphins. Eventually, I'm going to have an entire team of Dolphins. It's going to be the best fantasy team of all time. But yeah, Waddle's my wide receiver 3. When you mentioned him, Joe, I got really nervous for a second, and then I was like, please let him fall. He did. I'm very comfortable with that pick.
You know what? Had he been like the 4th wide receiver, 5th wide receiver there for me, I would be all over it. But because I'm just a little thin there, I just want to get something I know, especially because I did take the rookie already. I don't want to take 2 rookies, so it's a roster construction standpoint. Yates went on tilt a little bit there after Michael Carter and Waddle got selected. But you did get one of your guys, Corey Davis, a number 1 on a bad team, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, at this point, as my wide receiver 4, I can fall back on the volume that he's going to get. And then I'm going to go with the running back position here. I'm looking at guys like Zach Moss, Kenyon Drake, James Conner, A.J. Dillon. None of those guys are really doing it for me. So as my RB4 now, I can build some depth here and go with a guy who I think is going to have a steady role as the season goes along. But he does come with some upside. If something were to happen to J.K. Dobbins, I am going with Gus Edwards here.
All right, the Gus Bus, who I just put in my queue right before Yates took him. So thanks, Yates. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
Back to you at 9-5, Harris. Stafford goes right off before you, but that's okay because you already got your quarterback. Cooks and Moss also off the board. So let's see. You got a nice little balance going here, Dan Harris. It looks like you can kind of do whatever you want.
That's exactly right. I'm probably going to go wide receiver here. Again, you mentioned Waddle. He is a rookie, like for all that we're excited about. I feel like I kind of need a little extra wide receiver depth. And I'm going to go with a guy who, again, I've just kind of started gradually moving up a little bit as this sort of offseason has gone on. And that's Antonio Brown, a guy who we saw what happened once he got comfortable with the offense. Brady loves him. He's just very solid, So to have as my wide receiver 4, I think he's going to be a guy whose expert consensus ranking is going to gradually rise as, we get closer to draft season.
All right, there you have it. I love that pick personally. He was another guy I was actually thinking about when I ended up taking Mike Williams. That was in that shuffle with Waddle. So the fact that you got Waddle and Antonio Brown makes me
I'm in your head,
just
bud.
jealous. Just you're in my kitchen, and I don't know if you're going to get out of it, so make me a sandwich while you're there. Kenyon Drake, James Conner, Ryan Tannehill, Logan Thomas, who I had my eye on. I'm pissed. Then Joe Burrow, Mike Gesicki go off the board. So I'm going to take a share of, it's a lottery ticket, right? Laviska Shenault, I'm pretty sure the name Laviska in the home language means lottery ticket. And I don't have any shares. I don't even have virtual shares. So I'm going to try virtual share, try it on, see how it fits, and see what I get out of Laviska Shenault. Now it's a matter of, now that Aaron Rodgers is back, do I take Robert Tonyan here? I think the answer is yes, I do. I think I'm going to try to do that, but the problem is I've got sausage fingers, and I took Marquise Brown accidentally.
I was about to say, that's not Robert Tonyan.
I was like, wait,
it's not.
Don't
it's
do
not.
that. That's
it's
incorrect.
Not. But you know what? So be it. I have one of my least favorite players. And let that be a lesson to everybody. When you're drafting, don't multitask. Stop multitasking. It's hard to host a show, mock draft at the same time, do all this stuff. But that's all right. Tonyan goes right before. I was hoping Dan would end up taking him just to spite me as a second tight end. He didn't
I would never do that.
Yeah, sure. All right, 10-8. Back to you, Harris.
All right. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I'm more just looking for depth. And I'm going to take a guy like, you look at the running backs who are at the top of the list, like Devin Singletary. There's just no reason to do that. To me, take a guy who, again, one of the premium handcuffs who would probably be roughly an RB1 if anything happened to the guy in front of him, and that is Tony Pollard. I didn't get Zeke. I don't care about Zeke. It doesn't matter that I'm backing him up. It's fine. He's a guy who, again, anything happens to Zeke, Tony Pollard is basically an RB1, so he's a guy I'm going to take from my bench here.
All right, very interesting. Hedging your bets goes all the way. Gronkowski, Irv Smith, Darnell Mooney. Kyle's pick, another guy that we're both very high on. So take me through your picks. And you took Jonnu Smith, who's the tight end now that I had no choice but to take. And I knew after I screwed up that Tonyan pick that it was going to be death for my Jonnu Smith share. I knew that was coming. So thanks, Kyle. Yep. I appreciate it. Way to rub the salt in the wound. Want to just get some lemon juice too while you're at it? Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at the rest of the league, and this is something that you have to do as you're doing mock drafts. I was looking at the rest of the league going, I want Jonnu Smith on my roster, and Joe did not have a tight end because of the Robert Tonyan. So, yeah, he was not coming back to me. Could have played the waiting game in ADP. Nah, I went with Jonnu Smith there.
Where is Thumpkin? That's the problem.
It happens more than you think, by the way. The accidental pick. Of course, not to somebody whose profession is basically drafting fantasy football players, but you never know. So.
Touche, Harris. Touche. I will say this. The fun part also when you're looking at the sleeper board is the lovely color coding. And for somebody like me who is not color blind, but color sensitive, so certain colors just affect me and my feelings in different ways, you can really see the board and where everything is and who's got what very clearly, as Yates was able to do, and exploit it to his advantage. And I'm taking notes about this. This won't be forgotten. You took Elijah Moore with your pick in the 11th spot. Dan, why don't you talk about that while I plan my revenge on Yates?
I am a self-loathing Jets fan, as you guys both know, but boy, it is hard not to start getting excited about Elijah Moore and all the reports from him in camp. And I liked him coming out of college. I was really happy. And you heard the Jets when they drafted him, right? This was something where they were sort of freaking out. They were like, oh my God, he's still going to be here as we're drafting in the second round. Super excited about it. I'm buying in at this point. I'm able to shoot a little bit for more upside because I have 4 wide receivers that I feel absolutely comfortable starting. So for me, a guy like Elijah Moore, could have gone with Henry Ruggs or something like that, but I'm really not feeling that at the moment. So Elijah Moore, I feel very happy about grabbing here.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and grab Blake Jarwin. I still had Blake Jarwin, Cole Kmet, so I still had a bunch of my tight ends who were late that I like to pick all over there. And you know what? Tags isn't here, so just in honor of him, I'm going to take Philip Lindsay, one of his favorite players that he will talk about all the time, that he loves so much. And once again, I just don't believe in David Johnson's health ever, because I do play fantasy football, and I've seen it enough that, unlike Dan Harris thinks, that I actually do know what I'm doing a little bit, so once in a while. All right, that's back to you here, Mr. Harris. So Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, me Cole, and you Cole, everybody Cole, Hardman.
Yeah.
And then Hunter Henry, T.Y. Hilton, Latavius Murray, back to you, Danny boy.
Yeah, first of all, you mentioned the color coding. I actually am colorblind, and I can still tell the difference between the colors of this. It's really cool. Like, I can realize that Team 6 apparently, I think Team 6 probably has his own personal thing going on where he's probably cursing everybody about the tight ends because he has no tight end yet. And so he's probably like, I would like to get in his little AI head here going on. But I'm I'm going to take Alexander Madison. I'm just going to, at this point in the draft, there's nobody that's calling out to me, like a guy like J.D. McKissic, whatever. I have two guys on my team who, again, I know Madison disappointed last year when Cook was out, but I still think has immense upside if something happens to the guy in front of them. So I'm going with Pollard, and then I'm going with Madison here to pair him with.
Very nice. Okay, so lots of hedging of the bets here. That's the Dan Harris strategy here in this hedge. I'm gonna take Tony Pollard. I'm gonna take Alexander Madison. What other upside running backs in case somebody gets hurt can I take of? Boy,
yeah.
What a terrible approach. So mean.
All
right,
safe.
Yates, you're out there, and clearly I knew it was coming here. You did it. You pulled the trigger. Trey Lance, Traquan Smith. If there were ever two guys left on the board that I figured were going to end up on Yates' team, it was these two guys.
Yeah, we've talked about it where a strategy that I'm loving this year is if I do go, quarterback, not early, but quarterback a little bit later on, mid-rounds to late rounds, doubling down and grabbing a guy like Trey Lance, who I truly do believe has top 10 fantasy football QB upside as soon as he starts with his mobility, with the receiving weapons he's got around him. And then Traquan Smith, he's going to be the number 2 target in this offense while Michael Thomas is out. So if I'm looking for a guy who, I don't want to wait on my last pick. I don't want to wait to see if they turn out to be something. I want to have immediate production there that I can maybe trade off or at least plug in as a flex. So Traquan Smith here, right out of the gates, I think is going to hit the ground running.
I'm really glad. I just got to say, this is the 50th draft in a row that I forgot that Traquan Smith is a fantasy football player and have just forgotten to draft him. Like every year, I'm like, oh yeah, and then I just forget because I'm an idiot. Sorry. Good job, Yates.
Right. Typically, he forgets he is too sometimes. That's the problem with Traquan Smith. Dan, who are you up with for your last pick? Where are you going?
I just took J.D. McKissic. Again, I'm trying to hammer a little bit more running back depth here since, of course, I waited a little bit. I took Gaskin, but Melvin Gordon is my RB3. As much as I like him, he's not the strongest. So I'm trying to really hammer running back depth a little bit. I feel more confident in where I am at wide receiver. So a guy like McKissic is a guy who I can probably plug in there in bye weeks. He'll get enough receptions to matter. So not somebody I'm crazy excited about. And considering I have all the upside with the other running backs, I'm willing to take a guy like McKissic just to fill a spot.
There you go. I'm going to finish things out with my boy, John Brown. Let's go. Somebody's got to catch the ball. And I know Brian Edwards had a nice little catch there. Everybody's seeing it on the internets over the last day or so. That's great. It's a wonderful story. I still am going to go with John Brown till further notice, and then I'll see what goes on there. So outside of the one little screw up, I'm pretty happy with this squad. I would go to war with this, as they like to say in the business. Dan Harris, you're looking back on your team. How do you feel about that? And I got to tell you, too, when you're on the app version, as I'm doing this here on the app and on the desktop at the same time, what's great is you could toggle in between. You can bring your team up, move guys around, and kind of see where you're at, too, as the draft is unfolding. And it's all colorful and shiny and fun. Fun. Fantasy football is supposed to be fun, right, Dan?
Well, for some people. I don't have fun usually doing anything. I will say that when you're drafting on this, it is really easy when you have the draft board up to just keep track of how everybody looks at every position because of the color coding. And again, I'm not kidding. I am colorblind, but I can still tell the difference between these colors. And that is something, because a lot of things, if they're close in shade, I just would be completely lost. But these are nice. I feel good about my team. I mean, I like that Kamara came down. I have Dak Prescott. I have obviously one of the best, not obviously, maybe a little below the top tier, Dak Prescott. I have Darren Waller, which again, I like my teams. It gives me a lot of flexibility. And if Myles Gaskin is what Dan Harris thinks Myles Gaskin is going to be, then it's going to be a good team. My wide receivers of Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle, and Antonio Brown, Elijah Moore on the bench. Not the strongest, but there's enough here on the bench for me to feel confident going into any season with this team.
Love is blind, and so is Dan Harris. Kyle Yates, your thoughts on your squad now in retrospect?
Hey, I love drafting from the one spot.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that. This is great.
Yeah, this has changed my opinion here. Starting off with Christian McCaffrey, obviously, he's like 2 running backs in one. So then to be able to get Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, and then to be able to kind of stack these running backs with Mike Davis, Javonte Williams. I wasn't able to get Michael Carter. I would have loved to get him there at the 8-12 where I got Corey Davis, though. But then Gus Edwards. I know what I'm going to get out of my running back group. Pretty solid and stable behind Christian McCaffrey, and then that wide receiver trio with Jefferson, Robinson, Woods, Corey Davis, Darnell Mooney, Traquan Smith. This is just a classic Yates draft. So absolutely love it. When you throw in Jonnu Smith, yeah, this is a patented Yates draft.
Those top 5 picks, man.
Yeah. It really didn't matter what you did after that.
Good.
Like, I kind of looked at the beginning of that draft and I was like, well, this is kind of done. Like, It's a good thing it's about playing this league out, because I don't want to be frustrated every week, watching Yates go undefeated in this format. For me, looking back on the roster, I'm pretty pleased with this. I got to say, I'm okay. Russell Wilson's the quarterback, Najee Harris and Chris Carson. Feel very good about that running back duo. Then I got Devontae Adams, a true wide receiver 1, followed by Jamar Chase, who I think is going to be a wide receiver 1 potentially. Devontae Smith, Blake Jarwin, Travis Etienne is the flex. Then the bench, Mike Williams, Laviska Shenault, Marquise Brown, who really doesn't belong there, Phillip Lindsay, and John Brown. So I've got Marquise Brown and John Brown. That's good. So one will wear the J on his jersey in front of Brown, the other the M, so we can keep everything straight in the locker room, and the equipment guys don't get pissed off at me. But so obviously this is not my first rodeo, nor Yates. Now that you've done it, Dan Harris, what are your thoughts of the Sleeper app? It's pretty fun, isn't it?
Really awesome. Actually, I think the biggest thing that came out to me is how easy it is. Just, you can have the draft board up and still keep track. You guys, if you were watching on YouTube, of course, you could see it was just the draft board up until right at the end, and you just click a button and everything comes up and it's sorted. It's really easy to go through. But the color coding, I love the pictures of the players coming up. Super easy to navigate. Again, this is actually my first time doing it. It won't be my last, but it was my first time doing it, and just how absolutely convenient and easy and intuitive. That's the big thing. It's so intuitive that a lot of times I'm like, how do I do this? How do I do this? What do I do here? Super easy. It's great. You guys are not, I'm ready to move in to the 21st century.
Let's go.
I'm ready, finally.
The Sleeper app. So easy. So easy. Or even Dan Harris can use it. That's the new logo for it. And I got to tell you also, when you're looking at the Sleeper app, what's fun about it too is in the chat. If you're doing a slow draft, you can at somebody if they're taking too long. Say, hey, by the way, in case you missed it, you're up if you missed the notification. But they get the notifications to your phone too. So if you're doing those, we all know we have to do some slow drafts. It happens sometimes. And sometimes they can be a little arduous at times. I like that the Sleeper app kind of keeps it going. It kind of pushes it forward. It gives you the little notification. Maybe people don't check their email all day, but they get the little notification on their phone, and that makes a big difference in terms of moving them along. And I gotta say, any slow draft I've done on Sleeper has been faster than most other formats, simply because of that. You don't have to go in the little chat group, the text group, and all the other stuff, Yates. Right in that chat group, when you can actually add someone and they get a little notification, hey buddy, you're up. It's kind of a nice little thing just in case you missed the first notification.
That is exactly correct. Where you've got some of these other platforms where you got to run another group chat on, GroupMe or Twitter, and you got to download another app to be able to do the chat with the rest of the league mates. Now, you've got it all in one place now. And again, we've all got our phones on us 24/7. So to be able to have that right in your pocket, to be able to get that notification, even to your Apple Watch or whatever, it makes it super easy and convenient.
Dan Harris still has a cell phone that has a cord, which he doesn't understand. That's not the same thing.
What's a cell phone? What's a cell phone?
Yes, it's a smartphone now. It's a mobile device.
Never heard of it.
That's what it is. But anyway, this was fun. This was a good time. We hope you all enjoyed it as well, because, if you enjoy Fantasy Pros and our kind of silliness and yet smart as well at the same time, it's all balance. That's what life is. And also part of your fantasy football season is finding that balance as well, trying to find the fun, but also the platforms that will support all the needs that you have as well. And that's what's great too, when you're on the move and you got to make a last minute lineup change or something like that. It's very easy to hop on Sleeper app and make those lineup adjustments, accept trades, do the things you got to do there, make waiver claims, because it's so, as Dan said, intuitive and easy and quick. And that's what you need, especially if you're in a lot of leagues like we all are. So we hope you enjoyed this little mock draft action. And again, go head over to the Sleeper app. Download it now for Android and iTunes, Apple, whatever the heck it's called today. Go get it. It'll make your fantasy football experience better. So that'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Dan Harris and Kyle Yates, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.